everyone, welcome back to another video, and in today's video I am going to be covering a lot of mods because they have got some big changes all the way from C-Rex to Apache Rhino to Capro, lots of mods. So anyway, if you're new here, feel free to like, share, subscribe, and yeah, let's get started. So already we are on C-Rex, the Cursed Rex, and this thing only got one change recently, but it's probably a pretty impressive one, which is why I'm putting it here at the start. So, let's have a look at this real quick. That's right, it has fire breath. C-Rex can now spit fire, which I'm not sure how strong it is, but yeah, a minute cooldown, it can breathe fire. Let's have a look at that again. I just need to clear cooldowns. There we are, and let's have a look at it. Oh my god. The black stuff on the floor does lag out a little bit, but it does fade away quite quickly. But man, C-Rex having fire breath is pretty neat. Anyway, on to the next mod. Alright, here we are with the next mod, little Caprosuchus again. This little bugger has been getting loads of changes. So, I'm going to read a few of those out, and then we will go through the abilities. So, its sprint stamina drain is now 0.95 instead of 0.75, so it can sprint for longer. Its swim stamina drain is 0.3 from 0.4, so it can swim for longer as well now. It also got dual chop damage buffed, so that is this bite. That bite's damage is now buffed to 30 per hit instead of 25. The bite, as you can see, also got moved to the generic slot, so there's no, like, title over the slot, so you can have 3 bites as Capro now. They also removed the passive wet damage on some abilities, and Bloodline, which is this ability, it's a passive, now does 50% less damage to Capro and restores stamina while swimming. Coming aboard buffs were swapped, which are the voice buffs, so the day buff is now night and the night buff is now day. The day buff can stack up to 3 and the night buff can stack up to 2. They also changed Cruel Beach's cooldown, so it is now 20 seconds, which is more than before, and it has 15 stamina cost, which again was more than before. They have also moved the hides, so the abilities that were in here are now hides, and the original hides are now disabled. So the biologist and geologist also got changes. So biologist grants ability to eat noxious meat and roots, while swimming increases acceleration by 50%, swim speed by 25%, and heal recovery by 20%. Increases visibility underwater, additionally decreases Cruel Beach stamina cost and cooldown by 30%. Geologist grants ability to eat on minerals like salt rocks and nuts, while on land increases acceleration by 50%, stats heal by 25%, and trot speed by 15%. Additionally, decreases Croc Rush stamina cost and cooldown by 30%. So that is pretty cool. I like that they moved it from a passive to hides. Now you get to choose which one you want. Although I think you had to choose before. I'm not too sure. I didn't play Capro too much. Anyway, they also changed Land Dweller. While on land, increases stamina recovery by 10% and increases sprint stamina drain by 15%. They also changed Scuba Expert, so while swimming increases stamina recovery and decreases swim stamina drain, both by 15%, which is really good. They also have changed Liquidation. Liquidation is one of the bites, I believe. Yes, it's this one. So this one now does 60 damage, which I believe was less than before. It no longer removes stamina, and instead it will still increase the stamina drain. And it also does more damage if you're wet, and more damage if the target is wet. So that's pretty cool. They have also made it so you take more headshot damage, and they reduce the turn in place, and reduced tearing force debuff stack is now from 5 to 4, so it can only go up to 4. And finest hour, this ability isn't completely honest with all it does. So it stops all incoming heal and buff calls for opponents, and all of your attacks will now ignore armor for the duration. So any of your attacks will ignore armor for that duration of the ability, which I think is kind of crazy. Anyway, on to the next dinosaur. And here we are with the only herbivore on this list, Kio Kopachi. It got a bit of a rework. So they fixed adrenaline. Apparently it was bugged. Its health has been lowered to 750. And then if we go and have a look at the voice calls, so Monarch is what they're called, the Monarch Combat one, that now gives 20% armor instead of stam regen, and the Monarch Survival one gives 50% more bleed heal instead of reduced survival damage, or something like that. So yeah, you can see that they haven't changed. Oh no, they have changed. They have changed the descriptions, which is pretty cool. You can also now use it solo, which you couldn't do before. You had to be group, but now you can use it solo. Sunbather also heals bleed. Shove cooldown is now it's now 7 seconds, increased from 5. And that is basically it with Kio Kopachi Rhino. A bit of a nerf, I think, but then the voice buffs kind of even it out a little bit. Anyway, on to another KTO mod. KTO's been busy. And here we are with the little KTO Diplocalis. This thing was awesome when it first released. However, they've decided to do a bit of changes with it. So, they've increased the speed and stamina drain for babus. Sorry, not stamina drain. They've just increased the speed and stamina for babus, little babies. So you can run for longer and you're a bit quicker when you're smaller. They changed the ability prices on some abilities. They haven't said what. They've also removed some substats, I think, and they fixed Diver. Also, reinforced armor buff is now less, but lasts longer. And they nerfed the trot and sprint turn by 10%. So that's this little guy out of the way with. Now on to the last KTO mod of the video. God, there's so many KTO mods. And here we are with the little Nanukosaurus. This thing, it has basically only got one change, and, you know, it's a pretty big one for the dino, but it's only one change, and that is the bite is now in a generic slot. So that's basically it. You know, you can now have 3 bites, which is pretty cool for a little Nanuk, which hasn't got much. Anyway, the last mod of this video is a pretty big one with some huge nerfs. So let's get straight into that. I'm not going to bother cutting away because it simply is that big of a deal. And that is Sora Fagen X. For any of you who love Sora Fagen X, this might have killed it for you. So, Sora Fagen X, it no longer has Stomp. The stam drain has been increased to 1.3. And bite is now 55 damage and 0.4 bleed. That is less, by the way. Louder attack sounds by 50%, so you can hear it's louder when it bites. It also has no tail attack anymore, so if we go to tail, there's no tail attack. Unleaked juke from lunge snap. So lunging snap and the juke no longer share a cooldown. They reduce the triple bite damage and reduce the turn in place and turning for Sora Fagen X. They also halved its acceleration. So look at that. Oh, it's so poor. They halved its acceleration. And Berserk, I believe, was one of the voice buffs. No? Was it a sense? Where is Berserk on this thing? Oh, it's here. Berserker Madness. There we go. Found it. It now increases your acceleration by 75% instead of changing the cooldowns. It also got 2 new skins, which I believe are here. It got Glacial, which is cool. Let's have a look at the patterns. Quite nice. And Storm. There we go. 2 nice new skins on Sora to, you know, hopefully pat down the huge nerf it got. Anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I hope it was informative. And yeah, have a wonderful day. And also, if you're new here and made it to the end, thank you so much. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe. It helps me out an absolute ton, and I would really appreciate it. Anyway, yeah, see you in the next one. Goodbye.